Nice. Gents,
Well,
we're down to number 40.
I was going to say, not just cracking the beer, but we're shooting on this one.
We're
shooting on this one.
We're getting closer to fucking game time.
Officially 40 days out. Super excited about this. We're going to roll right into it.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's going to go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. We get better and better. Give me the JPB. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
Coming in at number 40, we've got Mr. Ed Foley, special teams coordinator. I am not going to go through like we did with Corey Collier or Corey Campbell and list off the places he's been, because that would take us the next half hour with Ed Foley. The dude has either changed positions and changed places, or just changed places at least every other year, it seems like, for the last, since 1989.
For the guys that remember, Phil Elmation, who was a defensive backs coach here, he coached at 30 other places before Nebraska too, so same thing.
He spent a lot of time at Temple. He bounced around and did a bunch of things. He was there before Rhule, he was there under Rhule, and then he was there after Rhule, even taking the interim head coaching spot in 2018. He was on Baylor's staff with Rhule in 2019 as an analyst, and then he went to the Panthers, assistant special teams coordinator for 2020 through 22, and he's been here as a special teams coordinator since. The biggest thing for me, I think, that I can say about Ed Foley is his in-state recruiting. His presence in every single high school, I think hitting the ground that first year and putting a face for Nebraska football coaching staff in every single high school in the state, that was something that, first of all, hadn't been done in forever. But second of all, just it was a tremendous, basically, introduction for this staff to Matt Rhule and the state.
He was that guy that when everybody first got hired, they sent people out, and Ed Foley was the guy that literally traveled from corner to corner of this entire state. You constantly saw pictures of him tweeting out what school he was in front of. Typically, it was like 4 a day almost, it seemed like. You'd always see pictures of food that he was going to eat, whether it was sitting in the passenger seat of his car or sitting up at a restaurant, whatever else. He saw everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, he was big time. I'm going to need to see more out of him from a coaching perspective this year, from especially from our two sets of kickers. Matt?
Kicker's going to be kicking, and I want to see a fucking return for a touchdown this year.
Hey,
you mean the punt returns?
Let's do that.
Or kickoff returns, or both?
Just one. I don't want to be too greedy. Give me one.
Yeah, doesn't matter where it's coming from. Let's see a house call.
But more importantly, he's got to make sure that Tristan Alvano's head is in the right place.
Yeah, he came in and he was in charge of fixing literally one of the worst special teams in the entire country.
Yes.
And
it didn't get much better in year one.
It really didn't, because in the Big Ten, they finished 10th in punting, 13th in field goal kicking, 12th in the dreaded punt returns in the conference. And it's like, the development of Brian Buschini and Tristan Alvano is a high necessity. Otherwise, we get guys like the Camden Cook, who's coming in as a true freshman. I know we picked up a new kicker very recently. So who knows as far as if Tristan Alvano,
I didn't even notice that.
Like Matt, you said, doesn't get his head together, which I hope to God he does. Last year, Tristan Alvano started the season 3 of 7 through the first 6 games. Ended it. Do a big job this year.
Big job, Eddie. Let's call him that. Coming in at number 39, we've got Ja'Cory Barney Jr. He's a wide receiver freshman out of Florida City, Florida. Coming in at 6 foot tall, 170 pounds. Jed, what do we know about this guy?
Well, he's kind of the breakout star of the spring. You know, I think a lot of people did bring him up as far as maybe a dark horse type guy, but man, he's one of those guys that just kept getting brought up.
And he popped.
Absolutely. And he you know, you mentioned it. He comes from the Miami area. He comes from Palmetto High School. He committed back in July of 2023. And the fact that we were able to hold off the University of Miami from him not flipping over there is huge for Nebraska. It did help the fact that we had a Dwight Boodle and Corey Collier, who is now gone as far as Corey Collier goes, but both those guys were at Nebraska at the time, and they went to high school at Palmetto High School in Miami. So having that connection really helped Nebraska at least solidify Ja'Cory Barney coming here.
Wasn't he kind of a draw to help with the Vincent Shavers get too?
I would assume so, yeah.
I think he was.
Yeah. So, but kind of along the lines with the Vincent Shavers, having a guy like Ja'Cory Barney and Vincent Shavers flash early is going to also help us in recruiting down the road in the Miami area.
Hell yeah. Matt?
A little small, but man's got hands.
The one-liners over here. This fucking guy.
It's gonna rain.
Let's go, Rain.
Coming in at number 38, we've got the youngster, Garrett McGuire, wide receivers coach, and an absolute player favorite, it seems like.
Yeah.
The guy just seems to build relationships at an extremely high level.
It's because he looks like a player. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, he was a player
Good
5
God.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, he was coming in as, I think, the youngest assistant coach in Power 2 conferences, if you will, last year at 23 years old. And the guy, I mean, he literally went from playing to, I think he was a special assistant with the Panthers for 1 year, and then he was here.
Yep.
So the guy's very recently played, and that's his thing. And it kind of reminds me of the story for, oh crap, what's his name? The NAIA quarterback that just transferred in.
Yeah.
Kind of one of those, just like, not that quarterback is the son of a coach, but grew up the son of a coach, always knew he wanted to coach. Like, yeah, I want to play so that I can learn how to play, but coaching is the end game. That's kind of what this quarterback that's coming in. And Garrett McGuire, I mean, the biggest thing I think you can say is the guy can clearly recruit. He builds relationships. Guys have faith in him. They make a connection with him, and that room absolutely loves him.
Well, and I will add not just the fact that he can recruit, but the way that he can develop guys like Jalen Lloyd, who had very minimal football experience coming into his freshman year, and being able to flash the way that Jalen Lloyd did last year, add to the Ja'Cory Barneys and everything else. Yeah, the exciting room that Garrett McGuire has to work with is very promising. And yeah, if he can develop half as good as he can recruit, which I think he can, the sky's the limit for that room in general.
Matt?
It's a young, explosive room. Let's see him light some dynamite.
Yeah.
Boom. Coming in at number 37, we've got Coach Marcus Satterfield, a very polarizing figure through his first year and a quarter so far, I would say. Some people love him. Some people love to hate him. It seems like the guys that were at South Carolina, where he was right before coming to Nebraska, where he was a co-OC and a QB's coach, he wasn't real well liked, even though I thought he was doing a pretty damn good job, especially with kind of re-resurrecting Spencer Rattler's career for a second time. Prior to that, he had spent 1 year as an assistant on the offensive line in Carolina. And then before that, he was back with Coach Rhule in Baylor as tight ends coach, co-OC at Temple. He spent the time with our new QB's coach, working as a co-OC in Baylor. I think he's going to get to show what he actually wanted to show last year and wasn't able to.
Yeah, he came in as they planned on him being the tight ends coach from the very beginning. That didn't work out for various reasons. The tight end or the quarterback's coach that they wanted ended up going to the Rams, and then they had to pivot. Things happened the way that things happened last year. And now we can move him back to the tight ends coach / OC where he was supposed to be from the very beginning. I have said multiple times on this show that I'm very interested to see what the tight ends will do in a stacked room with the offensive coordinator calling the plays.
It's going to look really different.
Yeah.
We're finally going to get to see his offense. You better not disappoint.
Hopefully.
I sure hope so.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Coming in at number 36, we've got James Williams, sophomore defensive lineman, 6'5", 235, coming out of Parkville, Missouri. This guy showed tremendous flash and tremendous upside in just the 4 games that he got in last year. I think he's going to be an explosive, dynamic guy off the edge for us.
He's a guy that came in as a recruit. Well, they found him in with the camp.
He was one of the camps, yeah.
And really nobody knew he existed for the first 3 quarters of the season, just in a general sense. This kid came in, he got in and got his first sack in his very first game. 83% of his snaps came on passing packages. He came up with 9 pressures and 2 sacks in 4 games played. He is absolutely going to be a fan favorite. And when it comes to our preseason over-unders, as far as who's going to lead the team in sacks, usually I list off about 4 or 5 guys, and then anybody else, I think he's going to be in one of my 4 or 5 guys.
4 or 5 guys?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's a very fast 240.
Yeah.
He's going to get some sack lunches.
I think he also is just slightly bigger than 242.
He's a physical 240. He's not going to get pushed
around.
around.
UNL has stocked up on brown bags because they're going to be making a lot of
Big Mac sacks.
Big Mac sacks. Coming in at number 35, we have Coach Terrence Knighton, otherwise known as Pot Roast. He is probably the coach that I was the most surprised by in 2023. Nobody knew anything about him. Nobody had any expectations out there on what he was going to look like, especially as a college coach, because he'd only done a little bit of that time in the NFL.
Well, and any of his NFL coaching was just as an assistant, not an actual, kind of like the Donovan Rhule when he came over. He was just the assistant offensive line coach. But
another guy that nobody knew a damn thing about.
Yep.
But he hit the ground running a lot faster than Donovan Rhule did. But I also think he had a little bit more to work with.
Correct.
But I more than anything for this season, I think the biggest thing that he's going to affect is going to be the continued leveling up of the top end guys that we have.
Yep.
You're seeing obviously that he can utilize and he can get a lot out of the young guys, but I want to see what he does with the Ty Robinson and the Hutmaker and a couple of the guys that flashed already last year, and see, I want to see Hutmaker and Ty Robinson both be not able to say no to the NFL.
Well, Ty Robinson was a senior, so
no. I get that, but I'm saying they're going to be drafted high enough.
Okay.
That they can't say no. That they can't
the
go
NFL
choose
can't
something
say no.
else. Yeah.
Okay,
That's kind of a deal too.
Yes,
that's what I want to see. He had a good NFL career. I want to see that he can show guys how to be an NFL D lineman, and I think we've already got the dudes in the room to get that done. And putting that back on the field this year, barring injury, this should be one of the top defensive line units in the whole country.
Yeah, I would hope so. 8 of the 12 opponents were held under 100 yards rushing last year, and all 13 of the defensive linemen that had a tackle in 2023 set individual career highs. I know that a lot of those were young guys, so obviously one tackle is going to be a career high, but when you have 13 guys set a career high, that's, again, progress, like what you were just talking about.
Big time.
Pot Roast is a bullshit nickname. We should call him Frankenstein because he's making monsters.
Love it.
Fucking love that. That line's going in the show for sure. That's good. Coming in at number 34, we've got MJ, the Dude Sherman, as we dubbed him last year and he did not live up to. This is a different story this year. I think last year, if we were making this list coming into the season, the way we were hyped up about this guy coming out of Georgia, I think we probably would have had him closer to the top 15-ish.
He'd probably be top 10.
Maybe. But, he's a guy, like I said, transferred in from Georgia. He is a senior this year out of Baltimore, Maryland, currently weighing out at 250, 6'3". They've got him playing in that, that jack spot. And I'm just excited to see him in second year of this system. He's one of those guys that they've talked about the different transfers and the change in the expectation going from they love me, the coaches love me, they're wooing me, they want to get me in the door to, okay, I committed, I'm in the door. Now I got to learn what tough love is and learn how to change the shit that I'm doing wrong.
I cannot necessarily disagree with that he didn't live up to expectations. But to be fair to him, maybe the expectations might have been a little too high. Guilty on our show.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Doing an entire show based off of him being the dude. But also, we didn't know that they were going to rotate guys the way that they rotated guys going into the season. So I kind of believe he wouldn't have been looked at as maybe a disappointment.
That's possible, but I expected him to be an every game starter, and he only started 5 games.
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, I can't completely disagree with you, but I'm just kind of throwing out some defense of him a little bit.
But I fully expect him to be a game changer, a game mover this year. He's got the skills. He's got the talent. Now it's time to put it on the field.
I hope so.
You guys said it. He's got to fucking perform this year.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 33.
Your favorite player.
One of my personal favorite players. Not only is he a should be an amazing player, but I just think he is one of those world-class humans
Absolutely.
that Matt Rhule goes out and gets. He is a 6'4", 190-pound wide receiver out of Lincoln, Nebraska. He is a sophomore because his red shirt got burned last year. Malachi Coleman, MC 15. We'll see if he wears 15 this year since our quarterback likes to wear 15.
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting one. I actually just right now that dawned on me.
I didn't even think about it.
He is dealing with a little bit of an injury. He's supposed to be back to full health and ready to go by the beginning of fall camp. And from what I understand, he's back to working out full strength right now. So I'm excited to see what he has to do this year. He's kind of been somebody that we didn't talk about much this spring because he didn't get to do anything in spring. And he has the possibility, because of his stature and because of the position that he plays, that he might get overshadowed a little bit by some of the new guys that have come in and guys that had all spring. But he's also he was on the preseason freshman freaks list for a reason last year. The guy is an absolute animal when it comes to physical abilities. I want to see if he can elevate even higher than what he did with the little bit that he showed last year.
I was never as big on him coming into Nebraska as a lot of people were. He was more of a long-term play. When I say I wasn't big on him, I wasn't big on him for an immediate play. It was always more of a long-term thing for me. I wonder if the two experienced receivers that we had bringing in might push him down a little bit this year. And learning under those guys specifically will only help him for his junior and senior year.
Freak athlete and the door's open.
Yes.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot your fucking shot, man. Coming in at number 32, a guy that I think we might not have had this high on this list if it weren't for some key injury situations, which has made everything more interesting. Malcolm Hartzog. He's number 32 on our list. He is a DB, 175, 5'9". Just a little guy. He's a junior out of Silver Creek, Mississippi. It's interesting to look at his size compared to the majority of the rest of that DB room. They clearly believe in him, though. Coop clearly believes in him. He talked a lot about how they tried to move him around too much last year. And in the spring press conference that Evan Cooper did, he was asked directly about that. He took it on himself. He said, I think he would have shown more and been better last year had I not moved him around so much, going from safety to DB. We're going to keep him at safety for sure all year. But then over the last couple of weeks, with the Bly Hill injury and with what we're seeing with, we're bringing in some other corners and we've seen some other additions, but there's all of a sudden this talk by writers that are close to the program about how maybe we're going to see Hartzog back at corner again. So I really hope he doesn't get stuck in that limbo again.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think that he's an integral and important part to that DB room just simply because of the fact that he's one of the few guys that has some game reps.
Let alone his size, the way he played as a true freshman coming in that Rutgers game 2 years ago, and for the entire rest of the season, he plays much bigger than what his size is.
Yes.
And I hope to God that he does get to just stick with one position and doesn't get tossed around in a little sack, not knowing where the hell he's going to end up.
Little because he's short.
Yes. But he's obviously, even at safety, he's going to be stuck behind some major studs, but he will definitely be in the rotation, specifically if he stays at safety. And I hope he has a bounce back season because last year didn't really live up to it for whatever reason, whether it was his fault or whatever else.
For sure.
He's just got to be consistent.
Yeah.
We don't have a ton of space back there.
Yeah.
So by space, I mean guys. So we don't have a ton of guys back there. He's got to do his
small.
part.
He can fit into small spaces. Coming in at number 31, another one of my personal favorites on the team, Mekhi Bayer. That is Bayer, not Gabayer, for those of you that are still confused by the G in his name.
I still get confused every time I see it.
Mekhi Bayer?
He's a linebacker out of Irvington, New Jersey, weighing in at 230. He is 6'2". He's a junior this year. The guy is somebody that nobody hardly knew anything about coming into basically mid-season last year. And then all of a sudden, bam, some injuries to a couple of our inside linebackers last year.
He started in the Colorado game. That was his first start. So it wasn't necessarily, but I'm not saying that he played great, but
I don't remember hearing anything about him really until Reimer got hurt.
Yep.
And then he really got some playing chance there. And man, the guy just started to come on strong at the end of the year. I think he's going to be, especially with, the lack of proven depth in the linebacker room this year. I think he's going to be huge.
This is a guy that in his junior and senior year in high school, he had 23 combined sacks for his high school team. He comes to Nebraska. He doesn't play a single down for his first 2 years. He actually entered the transfer portal and then came back for Matt Rhule, believed in the system and everything else, and we're seeing the fruits of his labor, as so to speak, where he came in and finally people are like, wait, who's this guy? And how the hell do you pronounce his last name?
He's been here for that's the crazy thing is we're still talking about heading into his 4th season on the team. We're still talking about how to pronounce his fucking name.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many wasted pieces of
and this next
awesome
year he will
talent
be
we
a
had.
big factor on that defense.
Yeah.
Small room. So he's got to step up and play ball.
Yep.
That's all, folks. Look out for the next 10 coming up soon.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.